Do you ever look out the airplane window during your flight and wonder why it's there? You might have noticed that small hole located near the bottom of the window. You may have wondered what that's all about, but chances are you've probably never given it a second thought. Well, it turns out that seemingly insignificant detail is actually one of the most important features of the airplane window. You just didn't know it. So what is the real reason for that tiny hole? What does it do? Why is it absolutely essential for the safety and comfort of everyone on board? We're about to find out. But before we get into it, if you like optimistic science and tech stories, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an upload. Also, give us a like because it really helps our channel. And now let's begin. First, here's something most people don't know. Airplane windows are made up of 3 separate pieces of glass or plastic layered together, sandwiched together with an insulating gas called argon to help maintain cabin temperature. The inner pane is the one that you look through and it's the closest to the passengers. The outer pane is the one that faces the elements and takes the brunt of the force from wind and hail. And in between those two is the middle pane containing that mysterious bleed hole. That bleed hole is crucial for 2 very different reasons. One is to regulate pressure and the other is to prevent fogging. To explain, let's talk about how airplane windows work. When you're cruising at 35,000 feet, the air pressure outside the plane is significantly lower than it is inside the cabin. To make sure you're comfortable and more importantly, to make sure your blood doesn't boil and your eyeballs don't explode, the air inside the plane's cabin is pressurized. However, that creates a bit of a problem. Since the air pressure is higher inside the cabin than outside the plane, it puts a lot of pressure on the outer pane of the window. If left unchecked, that could cause the outer pane to bulge outward, which obviously would be bad. But here's where that tiny hole comes in. By drilling a small hole in the middle pane, the air pressure between the cabin and the outside environment is equalized, preventing any undue stress on the outer pane. In other words, the bleed hole helps protect the part of the window that's protecting you. Now, you might be wondering, couldn't they just make the outer pane stronger? Well, yes, they could. But that would also make it much heavier, which means you'd need a bigger, heavier plane to transport the same number of people. And that goes against the whole philosophy of aviation, which is to use the lightest materials possible to maximize fuel efficiency. So drilling that tiny hole in the middle pane is a much simpler and more efficient solution. But there's another reason for the bleed hole, too. Ever taken a hot shower and looked at your bathroom mirror? Notice how foggy it gets. That's because the cold mirror creates condensation, which forms into tiny water droplets on the surface, preventing you from seeing your handsome self clearly. The same thing can happen to airplane windows. The inside of the plane is warm and the outside is freezing cold. So when the two meet, you get condensation. And nobody wants to stare out of a frosty window during their flight. But the bleed hole solves this problem, too. Because it allows just enough outside air to trickle in, it prevents condensation from forming in the first place. Together, these 2 features make airplane windows safer and more reliable, allowing us to enjoy the view during our flights without worrying about the view getting obstructed or the plane falling apart in midair. So the next time you're on an airplane and you look out the window, take a moment to appreciate that small hole. It might seem insignificant, but it's actually a crucial part of one of modern aviation's greatest engineering achievements. What did you think? Did you know about the secret purpose of that tiny hole? Do you know any other airplane facts? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an upload. See you next time.